Hello everyone, I'm Michael Ida. I've been a math and computer science teacher at Kalani High School for the past 27 years. Although I didn't attend Kalani as a student, I grew up in East Honolulu, so Kalani was always in the landscape. So when I was hired here and started teaching here, it felt kind of like coming home. As many of you may know, I have a visual impairment. I was born blind and had multiple surgeries on both eyes before I was even 6 months old. Even now, there are certain life activities that I'm not able to do, like driving. So when I was younger, I was very ashamed and insecure about my disability, and I had a hard time advocating for myself with my teachers. I would often suffer in silence if I was placed anywhere other than the front row center in class. In addition, I noticed that coming back from the pandemic, a lot of my students had hidden traumas and hidden disabilities that were not immediately obvious, but undocumented. And so my goal was to try to provide for them a way for them to communicate their needs to me in multiple ways and without any barriers, so that kids like me could get the support that they deserve. So my system is called the Flashlight Form System. Flashlight because we're shining light in areas that were shrouded in darkness previously and that we didn't know about. There's nothing especially profound or novel about my system, and I think it's something that many of us do already. My goal is to raise awareness within our profession that there are students in our classes who have disabilities and who have trauma and anxieties that we don't know about. So if we can provide for them a way to communicate their needs to us in multiple forms and without any barriers, then that's going to make it better for all of us. My system is based off of the use of Google Forms. There are 3 parts to my system. The first part is a background information form that we all use in some form or another. But on my form, I include an extra question asking kids to share any needs that they have as far as seating, as far as hearing, anything that would make them more comfortable in class. The second part of my system is a daily check-in. Again, nothing especially profound or novel. We all do exit tickets, but mine focuses, in addition to the academic part, it focuses on the SEL part. I provide students yet again, another way for them to voice their concerns or needs in a way that's low barrier, multiple modes, so that kids can share with me anything that's going on during the day that I should be aware of, anything going on outside of class, and anything that would affect their success in my class. The third part of the system is the networking piece, and this is the part that provides comprehensive support for kids. So oftentimes, especially in high school, teachers find ourselves in silos. There can be days or weeks even that I don't talk to my neighbor. But we want to make sure that kids are provided with comprehensive support in all their classes. And so as I go through the results of my forms, I note anything that I feel that needs attention and something that should be shared with colleagues and with other teachers that have those students, so that we can provide not patchwork, but comprehensive support for students so that they get complete support across the board, period 1 to period 8. So when I was in school, this is the type of communication that I wish I had with my teachers, for me to be able to share with them my needs and my concerns without necessarily having to share my whole life story in front of the rest of the class. So the results that I got from kids are, in one hand, not unexpected. I had students who shared with me that they needed to be seated near the front of the room, which, by the way, in most cases, I would have never guessed on my own. So if I had just kept my alphabetical seating chart, those kids would have been left out. So we had those responses. We also had some surprising and interesting responses as well. Normally you think kids who sit in the back, who want to sit in the back row, are just kind of trying to avoid work or maybe be disruptive. But I did have students share with me that they wanted to sit near the back because they wanted to be away from distractions. They wanted to be able to concentrate and focus more, and being in the back away from the rest of the class helped them to do that. Other students shared with me that they felt anxious if they had people sitting in back of them. They felt that they were being looked at. And so that was also interesting. We also had some of the generosity of kids come out. We had students who shared that they offered to move their seat from the front to the back because other people needed to sit near the front and they could see fine from the back. So the responses that I got were really surprising and kind of heartwarming as well. Some of the challenges that I face with my flashlight form system is that, once you open the door and once you provide ways for kids to share their needs with you, it's amazing the diversity of different needs and supports that kids have. And so accommodating those, in a class of 30 is sometimes a challenge. My advice to teachers who are considering implementing a system like mine is to go for it, because it's actually really simple to implement. I think a lot of us, like I said, are already doing some form of it. We have our Google form that we collect background information. We just need to expand the scope of questions that we ask to make sure that kids have a way to share with us any needs that they have that they feel uncomfortable sharing face-to-face. So for many of us, I think the system is already there, but if we can expand the types of information and the questions and ways that we provide for kids to share their needs with us, that's going to make a huge difference. I think for me, the biggest takeaway from implementing my flashlight form system has been the idea of student voice. Going beyond just the form itself is the idea of giving students ways of sharing their needs with us and choosing for themselves. Whether it's providing them different ways of demonstrating their skills and knowledge, or whether in my case it's providing them different ways of communicating their needs to us, voice is so important for kids. And when you give kids voice, you're going to be amazed at what they can accomplish. The other part of it is building that classroom culture. We know how important that is, especially coming back from COVID. And developing those relationships is based on trust. And so when we provide kids ways of sharing their needs with us that don't require them to stand in front of the class or share their whole life story with everyone else, gives them that trust, builds that trust with them, that then leads to those really strong relationships, that leads to strong class culture, and then leads to academic success. Everyone a leader, everyone a learner. We is greater than me. Thank you so much. Go Falcons!